and welcome our beloved viewers to RTD's News English Edition. As usual, we'll begin tonight's news with the major and top highlights. Let's follow. The Minister of Finance at the 45th ACP European Union Summit in Brussels. Sustainability Energy Fund for Africa gets $64 million from Norway in the environment, international scene. Those were our major in top highlights. Welcome back to our newsroom, our beloved viewers. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, expressed his sad condolence and the assurance of his compassion and solidarity to his counterpart Xi Jinping, the Chinese president, and all the friendly Chinese people, deploring the death which occurred on Wednesday of the former president of the country, Jiang Zemin. The people and government of Djibouti join me in expressing their sympathy and friendship to the Chinese nation in the difficult ordeal of the death of one of its most illustrious leaders in the contemporary world, wrote President Guelleh in the telegram sent to Mr. Xi Jinping. The late president will long remain engraved in the collective memory of the world societies for his pragmatic intelligence, his ingenious creativity, and his unparalleled ability to anticipate major events in history, the head of state noted in the same document. The late president, who passed away on Wednesday at the age of 96, was a statesman who rose through a series of foreign positions, including mayor of Shanghai, vice minister, and general secretary of the CCP, before reaching the Chinese Supreme Court, where he served for a decade, from 1993 to 2003. The Minister of Economy and Finance in charge of Industry, Mr. Ilyas Moussa Dawala, accompanied by the Ambassador of the Republic of Djibouti to the European Union, participated in the 45th ACP Council of Ministers Summit, which took place in Brussels. Indeed, after 3 years of reflection and work on the future of European Union Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States relations, the ministers of the two parties met in Brussels today to exchange views on the main issues of importance to the partnership. The current geopolitical context, including the food and energy crisis, was high on the agenda. The new AU APC partnership agreement was also discussed in preparation for its signing. The implementation of the Cotonou partnership agreement was also discussed with emphasis on trade, economic, and financial cooperation, as well as on non-cooperative countries and territories for tax purposes and the fight against money laundering and terrorism financing. On the silence of the 45th Council of Ministers of the AECP European Union, the Minister of Economy and Finance in charge of Industry, Mr. Ilyas Moussa Dawali, met with Commissioner Jota European in the charge of international partnerships at the European Union. During these meetings, the Minister discussed the following points: privileged cooperation with the European Union, EDF 11, intervention in the strategic sector, water and sanitation, resilience to climate change, in particular the second phase of PEPPER EIB financing contract, private sector, business park financing agreement, statute of portfolio implementation, and priorities for new programming Djibouti's interest in benefiting from the Global Gateway Program. This is a new European strategy to develop smart, clean, and secure links in the fields of digital, energy, climate, and transport, and to strengthen the health and education of research systems worldwide. Shifting gears towards now the National Assembly, chaired by the Member of Parliament, Mr. Hassan Aden Ghedi, the Committee for Social Development, extended to members of the Committee on Legislation considered this Wednesday, November 30, on the review of the draft law number 173/N/22 8th L on the establishment of the National Agency for the Promotion of Culture. This meeting was attended by the Ministry of Youth and Culture, Dr. Hibu Mumin Asawi, and senior officials of the ministry. After a rich and instructive debate, the deputies have forwarded to the next public session with their favorable opinion for adoption the provision of the bill number 173/N/22/8th L on the creation of the National Agency for the Promotion of Culture by inserting proposed amendments. Wednesday, November 30, 2022 was held within the Hassan Goulet Stadium, a reception in honor of our favorite Djiboutian athletes who will participate in 12th games at the CJSOI. This reception will be held in the presence of the Secretary of State in charge of sports, Mr. Hassan Mohammed Kamil, who is there to encourage our athletes and especially to motivate them and show them that Djibouti will be behind them throughout this event so that they can shine and emerge victorious in the various meetings that will be held in Mauritius. After Djibouti in 2018, it will be the time of Mauritius to host the CJSOI Games, which will bring together the best athletes from Comoros, Djibouti, Madagascar, Reunion, and Seychelles. Thus, about 2,000 young athletes from 14 to 17 years old will be expressed to participate in the 12th edition. The Secretary of State in charge of sports will spare no effort to train, accompany, and prepare our young athletes so that they are up to this event and thus carry the Djiboutian flag high. The Secretary General of the Ministry of Social Affairs and Solidarity, Mrs. Amina Ahmed Warsema, officially launched today the cash transfer project for refugees and asylum seekers in Djibouti City as part of the emergency response to the drought. With a total amount of 1,021,245,000 Djiboutian francs, the project aims to improve access to essential goods and basic services for refugees, asylum seekers, and host communities living in urban areas affected by the drought. Like other countries in the sub-region, very high temperatures and rainfall shortages have been recorded almost continuously in the Republic of Djibouti since late 2000. This lack of water has exacerbated drought situations quite significantly. In addition to the difficulties related to drought, the pandemic of the coronavirus and the Ukrainian crisis constitute aggravating economic factors. Nothing in passing, the increase in food crisis on the market, the weakening of the purchasing power of the population in general and refugees in particular, who were already among the most vulnerable. MAS, as the institution responsible for coordinating emergency aid, is implementing this emergency response to drought project in collaboration with the UNHCR. The aim is to mitigate the impacts caused by these shocks and to provide alternatives so that the impacts do not become even more devastating. The last activity of this fourth edition of the National Week of Disability was held on Wednesday at the Institute of Superior Science and Health. It is an open day in the institutions of higher learning, including the Higher Institute of Science and Health, with the collaboration of the University of Djibouti. From this activity will follow several objectives, which are to raise awareness among young people on the issue of disability in order to change their view on disabled people and their abilities, to allow people with disabilities to express themselves on their experiences and their care in the medical and social institutions in front of an assembly, to exchange on the ways and means to adapt their care in the environments, to give an account of the necessity to take into account the social medical needs of the disabled people in the different public and private institutions. The National Agency with Disabilities organized yesterday, Tuesday, at the National Library in collaboration with the Djibouti Agency for the Promotion of Culture, a closing ceremony of training on the invitation to the White Cane for the benefit of 30 visual impaired people with the associative networks of the capital. Although the closing taking place during the fourth edition of the National Week of Disability, this program, both dedicated and portal, was launched on the 16th day of this month of November. During 10 days, the participants, composed of men and women of different ages, learned with great assiduity the basic skills in the use of the cane. This universal tool constitutes for the blind people not only a means of finding their way in their special environment and of facilitating their locomotion by avoiding obstacles, but also an object recognized as a symbol of blindness in order to indicate this handicap to the other people so that they are more vigilant towards its barrier from where possibly to facilitate the communication. During his speech on the occasion of the ceremony, Director Mr. Mahmoud Derkala welcomed the good progress of the training sessions in the buildings of the National Library. Now, here is a report that highlights the achievements of the National Assembly for People with Special Needs. Let's follow.
Preserving the right of people with disability is an absolute priority for the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Mergeli. With this in mind, and in order to promote the participation and inclusion of people with disability and equal opportunities in all areas of social life, the Republic of Djibouti created on July 2018 an agency specializing in this area, the National Agency for Persons with Special Needs. Its mission is to put an end to action and activities that often yields little results and to work on the basis of a single national and international strategy. These procedures include information and support for people with disability and in order to promote equal opportunities for them in all aspects of life. This is why the INPH, the National Agency for Persons with Disability, is looking for a beginning to build a reliable foundation. Hence, the survey on monitoring the prevalence of disability at the national level in partnership with the Institute of Statistics in December 2019 to obtain the best result, as the staff in charge of carrying out the survey has been trained on various tools and standards to carry out their work in the file. Data collected for the whole country shows that the national disability prevalence rate is 8.5%, says Douala Saeed Mohammed, Director General of National Agency for Persons with Disability. Thanks to the policy of President Gele, who placed the results and issues of people with disability at the heart of his priority, the situation has changed, said Douala Saeed Mohammed, Director General of the National Agency for Persons with Disability. And when you want to build something, it is very important to establish rules and strategies on which action must be based. This strategy should highlight above all the legitimate demands and need of people with disability in the country. This situation may also concern their education, their health, their social assistance, their professional integration, or their participation in economic and political life. In order to realize its intervention, the ANPH launched for the first time in December 2019 the diagnostic and planning process, which will lead to the national disability strategy in a broad consensus between all the actors concerned by these problems. One of the main axes of this strategy is to promote and improve the service provided to the people with disability and their quality of life, to strengthen access and decent means of the subsistence, and to build an inclusive society. The Prime Minister made a speech in which he highlighted the situation of a person with disabilities, and he said the person with special needs has gradually improved in recent years thanks to the support of guidance of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Margili, their cause having become on one of the priorities of the states. The National Disability Strategy relies on a responsible personnel of all the departments concerned with disabilities issues to provide the necessary care to these important segments of society. This strategy is also based on a respect for the right of people with special need and enable them to live in dignity and integrate into society. Among the main achievements of the National Agency for Human Rights, it is issuance of mobility cards for people with special need, a step that is the first of its kind in the Republic of Djibouti. On the one hand, these cards allows people with special need to identify them according to their disability and thus obtain certain advantage, including free access to medical care in health center or state structures, priority in their schools, and students such as free entry to higher education, as well as the social assistance benefits, the support and their mobility, as well as easy access to housing and many other benefits that came and have a positive impact on their living condition.
Following the example of other sites in the capital and the regions, the Secretary of State for Sports has installed a giant screen in the heart of the city of Salama. Every evening, the inhabitants of the city, but also those of the neighboring districts, meet to follow together the best moments of the World Cup. To take advantage of these unique moments that the World Cup offers us, and especially to ensure the good organization, the Secretary of State in charge of sports, Mr. Hassan Mohammed Kamil, chooses each evening a site of projection to follow a meeting and share with its inhabitants this pure moment of happiness. The inhabitants of the city of Salama, visibly grateful, did not fail to thank the Secretary of State for sports and welcome this initiative that allows them to live the incredible World Cup in Qatar 2022. After the region of Tajarrah, the Association Charitable Souls organized in Ali Sibih a tournament of peace and friendship between regions. The objective of the sports activities are to bring together young people around the values of the Republic that are unity and peace, source of our wealth. A match was played at the big field. The team of Ali Sibih and the team of the City of Unity. The team of Ali Sibih was beaten by one of Dikhil by a final score of 5 goals to 1. Present at the ceremony were the President of the Regional Council, Mr. Sharmak Hassan Alale, the Deputy Director of Sports, Mr. Ahmed Musa Absi, the President of the Association, Mr. Saeed Hussein, and his Vice President, Mr. Saeed Boha. The President of the Association, Charitable Soul, Saeed Hussein, thanked the Secretary of State for Sports, Mr. Hassan Mohammed Kamil, for his support to the realization of this sporting event, also the authorities of the region. As part of the fight against smuggling, the Customs Brigade of PK-51 in close cooperation with the Gendarmerie of the Road of Wea seized yesterday morning a large quantity of cannabis. The goods seized on this occasion consist of 10 kilos of cut. This important batch of cut was then destroyed with fire in the enclosure of the Gendarmerie Brigade of the Road of Wea. The Director General of Customs, Mr. Guled Ahmed, has addressed their warm congratulations to the elements of the Customs and the Road Gendarmerie who took part in this operation against smuggling. Still in the same context of fighting smuggling, as I mentioned before, as part of the fight against drug trafficking in all its forms, the Customs Brigade of Ali Sibih, in close collaboration with the Police Detachment of Ali Sibih, seized yesterday morning a large quantity of cannabis, such as at the border sector of Galile. This important drug merchandise composed of 125 packages of 25 kilo bags filled with cannabis weed the smuggler wanted to bring in quantity to the capital. The smuggler was then taken to the police station in Ali Sibih for investigation. Given the seriousness of the facts, the accused was brought before the courts to answer for his actions. The prefect of the region congratulated the customs and police officers who fight day and night against all forms of smuggling. Shifting gears towards the international scene now, the Sustainable Energy Fund for Africa has secured a new $64 million grant pledge. It comes from the Norwegian Agency for Development Cooperation in the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet. The SEFA is a special multi-donor fund managed by the African Development Bank. It provides concessional financing to unlock private sector investments in renewable energy and energy efficiency in the world. Well, by this, our beloved viewers, we finally conclude this edition. Thank you for being with us, and make sure to tune in later for more programs. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you again, and take care.